Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the San Martin Submariner SN017-G V3, a homage to what is probably the most recognizable dive watch of all time, the Rolex Submariner. Worn by everyone from James Bond to James Cameron, the Submariner has become an icon in both pop culture and horology, and more recently, a status symbol. We don't all have that kind of money though. For a lot of us, a watch like the Rolex Submariner, while nice to look at, is at a price point that's completely out of reach. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you can't appreciate the design of the watch and get a taste of what it looks like on your wrist. At a fraction of the price, of course. Cue the San Martin Sub-Homage. The homage market has been flooded with dozens upon dozens of Submariner homages over the last few years, many of them coming from AliExpress. Amidst all that noise, the San Martin homage has come to be known as one of, if not the best, Rolex Submariner homages in the market. But is it really as good as it's made out to be? Let's find out. The San Martin comes in a Pelican-style case. It feels solid and the foam padding on the inside keeps the content safe during transport. Inside the case you'll find a manual, a hang tag, a warranty card, and two tools, a flathead screwdriver to size the bracelet, and a spring bar tool to remove it. I have to say, these are some of the highest quality watch tools I've ever held. They feel solid and they're nicely finished. Props to San Martin for going the extra mile with this. Now, onto the watch itself. It comes in a 40.8mm case. It has a 48mm lug-to-lug length, which extends to 50.7 if you include the end links. It has a lug width of 20mm, it has a height of 12.7mm, and it comes in at 149 grams on wrist with the included stainless steel bracelet. It has a water resistance of 200 meters, and it's powered by the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. You can get this watch for around $210 on AliExpress, or around 230 euros with VAT included. The case of the San Martin is modeled after modern Rolex Submariner cases, with the wider lugs giving it an appearance that's much more stout on wrist. The case is made up of hard lines and a combination of brush and polished surfaces. There's horizontal brushing on the top of the lugs, and the sides of the case are entirely polished. The brushing is fine and consistent, and the polishing is almost mirror clear. You can barely see any distortion in the polished surfaces. This level of finishing is usually reserved for watches that cost much more than this. The side profile is fairly flat, although it does have some slight curvature towards the lugs. On the side of the case, you'll find a screw-down crown that feels buttery smooth straight from the factory. You don't get that initial gritty feeling while it's breaking in, which I sometimes experience with watches from major brands like Seiko and Orient. The crown features an engraved San Martin shark logo, which you don't find anywhere else in this watch. If you pop the crown open, you'll notice a double gasket system that helps with the watch's 200 meters water resistance rating. The case back has nothing besides some brushing. It's honestly boring to look at, but it stays true to the watch it's homaging. You're going to need a special tool to pop this one off. The usual case back openers won't work with this. You can also use something like a rubber ball. I've tried that before and that works pretty great with this kind of case back. Heading back towards the front of the watch, where we find a 120 click bezel with a ceramic insert. The print on the bezel looks fairly balanced. It's not too thick and it's not too thin. The bezel is fairly easy to grip and rotate, but it's the action where this watch really shines. The clicks are consistent throughout and it feels absolutely amazing to rotate. Just listen to this clip. Nice, right? It's easily one of the best bezel action I've experienced so far. It forever ruined my love for the bezel action on my SKX007. It's just a level above that. Sorry SKX. The crystal is sapphire and it features a Swiss grade AR coating on the underside. The coating is really good. In some lighting conditions, it feels like it doesn't even have a crystal on. You'll find a Cyclops magnifier above the date window at 3 o'clock. In my opinion, it doesn't really magnify the date all that much, but it definitely has its use. Under the crystal lies a glossy back dial. The dial has quite a minimal look to it. You'll only find the words automatic and 200 meters at the bottom, and an applied San Martin logo at the top. There's a finely brushed rehaut around the dial. It starts where the crystal is and angles slightly towards the dial, giving the dial much more dimensionality. You'll find the popular Mercedes hands at the center of the dial. Like the rest of the watch, they're finished really nicely and they look very well proportioned. I was actually impressed by how clean the hands looked on the macro. I couldn't notice any micro scratches at all, and I honestly wasn't expecting that. The markers are applied on the dial and they're finished very cleanly. They have a thick application of Lume that looks white when it's not activated, giving it good contrast against the stud black dial. When the Lume is activated, it's a sight to behold. The BGW9 Lume on the watch glows a cool blue and it's applied very evenly. It doesn't need much charging at all to glow throughout the night, and I like the blue tone of the Lume. It was a refreshing change of pace from the usual green glow that I have on my other dive watches. The movement powering this watch is the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. It's a reliable movement that comes with hacking and hand winding functionality. San Martin uses this movement on most of their watches around the $200 mark, and it works really great. I've had no issues with this movement in many of my watches. It'll easily last you a decade with minimal service. Onto the bracelet. This watch has an oyster-style stainless steel bracelet that has solid end links and links. The entire bracelet is brushed with the same level of quality you find on the watch head. It's so well finished that they even match the brushing on the lugs with the end links, making it flow visually. I usually have issues pulling off male end links with watches at this size. They have a tendency to stick out too much and prevent the bracelet from draping around my wrists. I didn't have any problems with this one though. The male end links here are slightly recessed. This makes it much smaller to wear and it wraps around your wrist comfortably. The links are chunky but not too chunky. They make the bracelet feel like a tank. The links are attached to each other with screws and they can be removed very easily with the flathead screwdriver that San Martin provides. You don't need to fiddle around with special tools or tight pins to resize this. The bracelet has a really nice taper to it. It comes in at 20mm at the lugs and tapers down to 16mm at the clasp. The dramatic taper makes it comfortable and the watch feels balanced while you're wearing it. The bracelet also has little to no rattle and it feels really nice to handle. The clasp is a fold-over deployant style. It has 6 micro adjustment holes, so you're not going to have any problems dialing in a perfect fit. The clasp feels so solid, I'm sure you could hurt someone if you threw it at them. I know that's not what you usually use clasp for, but it's a good thing to have if you ever need to use it for self-defense. Just saying. The latch features the San Martin logo in a fairly basic font. If you've been keeping count, by the way, that's now 3 different logos that has been featured on this watch. You have the shark on the crown, the hexagonal logo on the dial, and the basic font on the clasp. It's like 3 different designers in San Martin HQ were all vying to have their designs featured, and San Martin didn't want any of them to feel bad, so they just put all 3 of them on the watch. If you've made it this far, please consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribing for more watch-related content. These videos take me some time to do, and it would really let me know that you guys like the content. Thank you so much. So, what do I like about the San Martin Submariner Homage? The first thing is the build quality. I've held many different watches at various price points, and you always can tell a good watch the moment you hold it. And I felt exactly that when I held the San Martin for the first time. It feels so solidly built, everything is well finished, and you can tell that they use really high quality materials in all aspects of the watch. The $200 price point in comparison just does not make sense to me. It's just so much value for the quality it offers. The second thing I like is the bezel action. It's not common to find good bezel action on watches below $500, and the San Martin just absolutely blew me away. It's so easy to grip, I didn't have any problems even if my hands were sweaty or wet, and the clicks felt fairly consistent throughout. If you like the tactility in your watch, I'm sure you're gonna love how the bezel action feels on the San Martin. The AR coating on this watch is also really good. It's so clear that sometimes I had to remind myself that there's actually a crystal on it. It's something you don't really notice, but when you have it, it makes a world of difference. And it's good that it went with a clear AR coating instead of the ones with the blue tint that you normally find on some watches. It really makes the glossy black dial stand out so much, and sometimes I feel like I'm looking at a black hole, and I absolutely love it. I also really love the bracelet. It feels like it could cost as much as the watch itself does. It makes the watches on even more expensive Seikos at $1,000 feel cheap in comparison. It is that well done. You really have to feel it to believe it. Now I'm going to stop waxing lyrical about the San Martin and talk about some of the things I disliked about it. One aspect that really bugged me throughout was the sharp edges on the lugs. I know San Martin went with the sharp lines to mimic the Rolex Submariner, but the lugs really could have done with some softening up. It feels really sharp, and sometimes if you accidentally brush your hand against it, it can actually leave a mark on your skin. It doesn't really affect you on everyday use. You don't feel it while you're wearing it on your wrist, but if you rub your hands against it, you definitely notice the sharpness. Another thing I didn't like about the San Martin is the date magnifier. I'm not a fan of date magnifiers in general, but I also felt like this was executed pretty poorly. It doesn't magnify the date enough to justify being there, and it also didn't have AR coating like the rest of the crystal. So to sum up, what do I think about the San Martin Submariner homage? After spending some extended time with this piece, it's clear to me that this watch really is all that it's made out to be. It manages to stand out from the crowd of homages by offering exceptional quality, finishing, and value that quite frankly is unmatched at this price point. The legendary styling makes this versatile enough to be worn in almost all situations. If you like this particular look, this could easily be the only watch you would ever really need. But who am I kidding? That's not why we got into this hobby in the first place. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.